Hello everyone, it is Samantha and I hope you guys are having a lovely day today. I am here today with a book review. I'm going to be reviewing Dragon Champion by E.E. Knight. Hello everyone, it is Samantha and I hope you guys are having a great day today. I'm here today with a book review. I recently just finished the book Dragon Champion by E.E. Knight and I thought it was high time that I reviewed this book for you because it's been a while since I've done a book review, so here I am. So Dragon Champion by E.E. Knight is the start of a 6-book series. The first book follows the young dragon of Aron from the time of his birth until adulthood, well, semi-adulthood for a dragon. He's still considered young at the end of this book. The story starts out with Aron being born, and he gains supremacy of the nest because in dragon culture, if there's any males born, usually one male wins out and the others end up dying. A little bit brutal. And then, of course, his sisters. But soon after the story begins, and he's still a young little hatchling, dwarves end up infiltrating his cave system and end up murdering his family, except for him and one sister. So Aron ends up escaping with his sister, and this is kind of where the story starts to take off. Events end up separating Aron from his sister, and Aron kind of starts to discover his place in the world, to try and learn more about dragons and the world around him. He ends up finding friends among not only some dwarves and some elves, but wolves as well. So the story, as I saw somebody describe it, as a little bit like Watership Down with dragons, and I think that's a very accurate description for this book. It's very much a slow meandering plot. There's a slight overarching story to the book, but mostly it's just following Aron around as he kind of figures out his place in the world and what's happening to the dragons as they're being killed off by all of the hominid creatures. And it's just kind of a very slow and plodding book at times, but it was definitely an interesting story. I love Watership Down. It's one of my favorite books, so I kind of like slower paced books that kind of just are a snapshot of somebody's life, basically. But there is kind of an overarching storyline, as I said before, and that's basically what is happening to the dragons, why are they being killed off, and Aron, his quest to discover what exactly is a dragon's number one weakness. So the other thing that kind of sets Aron apart from other dragons is that he is a gray dragon, and what this means is that he is born without scales, and because he's born without scales, he doesn't have this natural inclination to hoard treasure, because most dragons like to hoard treasure because they eat it, and that's kind of how they form their scales. Aron does not have scales because he is a gray dragon, so this allows him not only to kind of be a chameleon and blend into his natural surroundings, but also kind of makes him have a bit of a weakness because he doesn't have skills to protect his body. But despite this weakness of his, he ends up using it to his advantage because he is able to fly more masterfully than other dragons who have scales, as well as blend into his natural surroundings. So that's the basic plot of this first book. Events really don't start to take off, and the story doesn't really start to come together and kind of become a true story until the end of the novel, when you kind of figure out that bigger events are at play here. You've seen kind of snapshots of bigger things occurring in this world, but it really starts to culminate towards the end of the novel. So it's definitely a slow and meandering plot, focused on Aron and all of his new experiences and sensations that he is discovering while he is investigating his world. So overall, I kind of had mixed feelings for this story. Though I did find myself enjoying it while I was reading it, I did find that it could have done with a little bit more plot development. I did like seeing Aron kind of investigating his world and his place in this world and the history of this world, but it would have been nice to have a little bit more of a plot, and we really didn't get that plot and what this book is about and what I assume the rest of the books will kind of be about until the end of the story. And it would have been nice to not have to read, 300 pages to get to that point. So I did enjoy the writing. I thought the writing was fairly well done. I will say that there was some kind of plot holes. The last 50 to 100 pages is really where all the action occurs, and then it kind of ends abruptly. It almost finishes a little bit too neat, a little bit too contrived, and I'm still left with a lot of questions. Like, the way that it ended didn't quite make 100% sense to me. Like, Aron's actions and what he ends up doing just felt a little bit too easy, I guess, is how I would phrase it. I don't want to give too much of the plot away because I don't want to spoil people if you do decide to read this. I did enjoy the story. It's definitely a fun dragon story. It definitely slows down a little bit at points. Like, some exciting things will be happening. You'll be like, yes, this is cool. I love this. But then it will kind of slow down again. And I think there was definitely an issue with the pacing. So overall, I ended up rating this book 3 out of 5 stars. I gave the writing 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really like E.E. Knight's writing. I think that he does a pretty good job of kind of painting the characters and the world that this takes place in. He definitely shows you the world. He doesn't tell you about the world, which I definitely appreciated, and I just found myself kind of enjoying his writing style. So I ended up giving the characters 4 out of 5 stars. I definitely liked a lot of the characters. I liked our main character of Aaron, the dragon. I liked that he was kind of a morally ambiguous character. I mean, I think I'm also trying to apply human morals to the nature of a dragon. So there's times where you feel kind of like disgusted by Aaron and some of his actions, but then you have to like take a step back and be like, okay, he's a dragon, so yeah, he's gonna eat people, but it's still kind of jarring when you're reading it. I think the side characters are actually what made me like this story as much as I did. And then I ended up giving the world building 4 out of 5 stars. It was decent world building. You definitely got a fairly rich context for the history of this world. I definitely would have liked more, but I think that we will get that in the future books. I do know book 2 takes up with another character, so it'll be interesting to see if plot lines and characters end up overcrossing each other again and getting more of a richer picture of this world and that it takes place in. But he definitely gives you just enough history of this world to have context without feeling overwhelmed or wanting more. And I gave the overall plot of the story 3 out of 5 stars. I felt like it could have been refined more. The pacing, there's definitely trouble with the pacing. It kind of plods at times and then rushes through other moments, and it just kind of felt a little bit off the whole time. And I felt like the story could have been tightened up a little bit more. I think that there could have been more of a story to this book to kind of adhere the plot to get together, like not just having this, you know, story about Aaron trying to find his place in this world, but it would have been nice to kind of have the overarching plot of things that are occurring in this world kind of connect more to Aaron's story itself. It was almost like it was 2 separate stories until the very end, so it was a little bit weird, and I think it's something that definitely could have been refined a little bit more. So overall, I ended up rating this book 3 out of 5 stars. I do want to read the second book. I have that on my shelf. I don't know when I'll get to it. Hopefully fairly soon, like I say all the time. But it was still an enjoyable story. It was definitely a fun dragon story. And if you're thinking of finding a new dragon book, I do recommend this because I think that this series will hold a lot of promise. I think that this was very much a first book in a series, and then I'm hoping he'll kind of refine the story and the plots and the characters in the future books. Alright guys, that is it for my review of Dragon Champion by E.E. Knight. It was definitely an interesting book, and I'm excited to see what I'll think of the future books in the series. If you've read this, I would love to know what your thoughts are, or anything else you want to throw down in the comments, please feel free to do so. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a lovely day. Until next time, happy reading. Bye!